And one day when Jesse was at the studio, I ended up stopping at the Bayside Diner.
You did.
I did, yeah. So the Bayside Diner is an interesting setup. It looks like a temple, really. I don't know if I've seen many, if any, diners that are constructed in that manner. It definitely, I think I've heard of it before. Like it has a bit of a name for itself, but
Mm-hmm.
um, it may just be because it has Bayside in its name that it makes me, think that I've heard of it. I'm
Maybe.
not sure. But it's the first time that I've been to a restaurant for the whole restaurant experience since we've had the pandemic. And it was nice. It wasn't entirely normal.
Yeah, no.
There were pre-wrapped everything. Ketchup came in individual packets, salt, pepper, things came out on like individual plates sometimes. So that was interesting, but I also appreciated the fact that they were, going the extra step to make that a thing.
Of course, yeah.
The a giant tent had been set up in the parking lot, and so we were all sitting out on the parking lot and distance from each other
Mm-hmm.
appropriately. And I spent some time, just I had a cheeseburger because that's what I wanted, and it allowed me to have that diner experience that I haven't had for a while,
And
which
you love that diner experience.
I do, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it made me, just kind of reflect on what it is that a diner means, kind of in a similar way to the bagel stuff from last week. And I came up with this kind of working thesis, which is the idea that a diner doesn't need to be good to be good.
Explain that.
Unpack that. So the idea for me is that maybe more so than even a good restaurant, the diner is very much about the ambiance and the experience and the expectation of what you're going to get out of a diner.
Right, right.
And it is there are chain diners, of course, like a Denny's being very famous,
Right, or like a
example.
Perkins or
Yeah, or
Did
like
you have Perkins?
no,
Oh.
no,
Maybe
'cause we
that's
have,
not as much of a chain as I thought it was.
I
An
think it
I
is. No, I think
Oh,
it's a
is it?
chain. Yeah,
Okay.
a chain. Yeah,
An
but
IHOP?
an IHOP. But I mean the fact that they're
Because we don't have to name all the chains.
no, we don't. The the diners here are strong enough independently that the chains aren't the dominant thought when you like think,
Yeah, yeah.
So, but the expectation of a diner in this area, I mean, I could say a tri-state at the minimum, but like, you know, New York City
Mm-hmm.
is such for me that the food can be average, but it can still be a good experience.
Right.
Insofar as the food's going to be pretty much what I expect it to be. The table is going to be what I expect it to be. I'm going to be able to stay there as long as I want.
Uh-huh.
The service is going to be just a certain expectation.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things maybe are canceled now with COVID stuff, but we're talking like in normal times, what are you expecting from a diner?
Yeah,
Yes?
yeah. Well, yeah. And then I think there are metrics that like you can start thinking about what makes a good diner or not based on like, what are they giving you, if anything, prior to your meal?
Right.
And like
Oh, yeah.
I don't need necessarily anything prior to the meal, but it's not unusual to get breadsticks or bread or some type of pickled things.
Yeah. I love the pickled things. That's not something that I ever experienced growing up in Pennsylvania.
No.
The pickled stuff. For me, that's purely been New York. Maybe sometimes in New Jersey
Yeah.
you'll get pickled stuff, but love it.
Yeah. And so those are the things that'll push it. Like even if the food is good or that is good, it could make a great diner experience potentially.
Yeah.
But then there are other things that you would think that actually are a greater drag on a dining experience or a diner experience than otherwise. Like I feel like price is actually an outsized grade against a diner potentially.
Right.
Like if a burger is a couple of bucks more than you would expect, that is actually making for a worse diner experience than if the burger is slightly better than average.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. Well, you also, I feel like there's this idea of how much something should cost when you go into a diner. So if you see that it's a little bit more, then you're automatically like, all right, this better be the best burger I've ever had.
Right. Yeah.
Which, like, it won't be.
No.
It's still going to be a diner burger. It's not going to be like Dumont or some other steakhouse burger or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping for a very specific burger experience when I went yesterday.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. I just wanted it a little bit rarer than it was. But I mean, it was still good. I'm happy I went.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was hoping for that threshold of good burger. And it was somewhere between average and good burger.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it was,
Not bad.
Yeah. It was, I mean, I would still think, given the circumstances, it definitely felt like, not like roughing it, but something similar, where it's like, you know, this is the struggle that we have to deal with in this day and age of the pandemic right now as far as dining experiences go.
Yeah.
You know, but, which of course I'm being facetious. It
Yes.
was not a struggle at all. But
No, you were able to be served food.
yeah.
Which is very nice.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that is such a strong New York City experience, and I don't foresee it being something that would go away, you know, but it is definitely something that I miss, and, you know,
Yeah.
I would like for it to return sooner rather than later.
I think it will. It's the diners have always amazed me how that, like, when you talk about price, they usually are so cheap,
Yeah.
but they just stick around.
Yeah.
While restaurants that are expensive fold. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
They must have like 100-year leases or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Well, there was a diner near where I worked in Soho called the Landmark Diner, and that was truly an average diner. The food there was average.
Yeah.
But because it was in an area where everything else had given way to flagship stores,
Yeah.
it was a good diner.
It felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, like, I mean, that's when you get an opportunity to become a diner regular, which
Right.
is, I mean, there aren't many better retail experiences
Oh gosh.
than being a regular when they like know what you
They
want.
know what you want.
They call you honey.
Oh, it's
you know,
so
they're
nice.
they're
It's
very
so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, when I left my
They
job,
like sit down in your booth with you sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
nice.
when I left my job, I told them, and they were, you know, somewhat saddened, but not
Aw.
like, you know, I don't know if even that, I don't know if I want to be that regular where like I'm breaking somebody's heart that I'm leaving. But it was like, there was a level of concern given to the fact that I was leaving. And that's all I really wanted. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
There's I feel like the diners in New York, they're not all the same. Also, we have like the Greek diner is a common one.
Mm-hmm.
The Jewish diner is another one.
Mm.
Then there's sort of like the the classic American.
Well, what do you think of when you think of the Jewish diner?
I think it's like the deli meets diner.
Oh, well, so like, are you like the appetizings?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm thinking like not Katz's or something like that, but like
Yeah.
there's a famous one uptown
Mm.
that I can't think of the name of right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is, you're right. I mean, there's like the whitefish sandwich and like matzo ball soup and like
Yeah,
that type of,
yeah.
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 And then, I mean, the American diner, I feel like is fairly similar to the Greek diner. It just maybe doesn't have like
But the
gyros
Greek
and Slovakia
but
and things
exactly,
like that.
the Greek diner would have like the moussaka, the pasticcio, the
Yeah.
spanakopita, and like, but But that's an interesting thing too. I feel like because diners were a big deal in Allentown,
Yeah.
but we only had sort of just like the retro diner
Yeah.
where there'd be a jukebox
Right.
and it would be silver.
It's like a caricature.
But like not, they had been there for a long time,
Right.
but it was like I took you to the Ham Fam,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
but what was your diner experience in Long Island?
The diner experience in Long Island is there aren't many diners that are like Elvis diners.
Okay.
They're mostly Greek diners.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's really. I don't recall going to a lot more of the Jewish diners that you're talking about.
Yeah, and maybe I'm classifying that wrong.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I do think it like straddles the line between
Yeah.
just like a deli and diner.
Yeah. Either way, that's sort of like that is one thing that I also really like about New York. And maybe we're going too much of a tangent because we are way off the route now.
Yeah, right.
But one of my favorite places in New York when I first moved here was the Stage Deli,
Sure.
which is in the East Village. And that isn't a diner, but isn't a deli, but it's something in between. And it's like a counter service situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like that there's all sorts of these like cheap eateries where you know what you're going to get. And like you said, it's sort of like, it's never going to be like amazing, but it's also not going to be bad. It's always just going to be like, kind of like comfort food, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get an opportunity to frequent more of them in the future, either in parking lots or maybe one day going back inside again. I guess we'll see.
Wow. We'll see.
Yeah.